Living in a van. What does this mean to you? What do you think of? Sometimes people jump to a conclusion, and they might think that the person is homeless, or maybe like a freeloader, or maybe a hippie. Despite this, in today's world, if you hear living in a van, at best, it's typically seen as a lifestyle suited for people who are just wanting to get away from it all. And so on social media, you'll see a lot of photos like this. You know, these artsy photos of the van out in the distance, photos of yourself taking photos inside of the van, and these really whimsical and mystical things in the remote parts of the world. All wonderful and really actually gorgeous. I love that photo. But what if it could be more than this? What if living in a van wasn't about getting away, but getting connected? You see, I saw it as something that could be more than the stereotypes that are labeled to it. And I could actually see it as a way that I could really enhance the way that I live my life. So, much to the dismay of my mother, I decided in my last year of graduate school that I would go and live in a van. And as much as this initially worried my friends and my family, I was able to convince them it was actually a great idea because I have a powerful why, a powerful reason for wanting to live this lifestyle. And it came from a time where I was at an all-time low. You know, you come to college and they tell you that it's a time for finding yourself. But as I was entering my junior year, I felt like I was losing myself. I was living 7 hours away from home. I had to quit the track and field team and my job just to keep up with classes. And these were the same classes that were putting me into massive student loan debt. Becoming a doctor is not cheap. So the pressure, the failure, and this distance from my community, it ended up making me feel really isolated. And so I started to make some bad choices. I really made really poor decisions with my personal relationships. I started to distance myself from my friends, and I would even just start to fail at classes because I just wasn't enjoying life anymore. And I kept digging myself into this hole of self-pity because I was allowing my life to be ruled by a fear of failure, the shame of giving into bad influences, and this guilt of having hurt my friends. And so my subsequent depression and anxiety, it really almost made me give up on college altogether. Because most of the time I felt like this. I felt like I was lost in a forest. Like I had no direction, no trails, nobody to help me, and I would never find my way out. And it was in this place that I realized that over the course of the college, this self-deprecating talk that I'd been giving myself had turned me into a self-serving coward. And it was there that I made the best decision of my life. And so, with a little bit of work and a heck of a lot of luck, I ended up moving into a new apartment with people that called themselves Extra Fancy Rice. Now, who doesn't want to live with a group of people that names themselves after a bag of sushi rice? I mean, these people were truly goofy. And despite how goofy they were and all their quirks, they had one amazing thing in common. And that was a commitment, a fierce one, to the community of Extra Fancy Rice. And when I saw this commitment in action, I realized that I had been missing it in my life, this commitment. So get this. When I was first going to move in with them, Chris Rose, a member of Extra Fancy Rice, he sent me a message that said, "We're an incredibly close group of friends. And so when you come in here, you better not do anything to mess it up." So he seemed like a nice guy. And for some reason, this made me feel like emotionally safe, because in my head, that gave me a goal. It gave me an expectation for how I had to live my life. And it gave me a sense of accountability that I hadn't been giving myself. I could see and feel how all in for each other this group of people were, and I wanted to be all in with them. So fueled by my desire to be part of this community, I did everything I could to contribute to them, because I wanted to show them how grateful I was for them giving me the opportunity to get out of that toxic environment I had put myself in. And so I started with little things, like cooking with them, learning their pet peeves and their interests, cleaning the house, and doing little things like games that I like to play, like apartment mini golf, patent pending. And then these little things started to turn into bigger things. This is a picture of us during junior year when we won a pumpkin carving contest, and the grand prize was $100. And this $100, we ended up using it to fund a Thanksgiving dinner for all 15 people in Extra Fancy Rice. And it just continued. We continued to grow closer as a community. And so for Halloween, we dressed up as the Scooby-Doo gang. And then when the snow finally came, we decided to build a giant snowman to freak out our neighbors upstairs. And as I continued to contribute to them, I realized that I wasn't living for myself anymore. I realized that I was raising the standard at which I wanted to live my life because I didn't want to just live for me. And when I realized that I wasn't living for me anymore, I noticed positive changes in my life. I had these friends around me that I could trust. And with these friends, I was contributing to them and having fun. And in turn, I began to succeed in my classes again. I was enjoying school. And I was starting to do things that I love to do. This lifestyle of contribution became the catalyst for changing my approach to life. And so I gathered ideas, and I kept building up to this powerful why, this powerful reason that I wanted to live. And it's this. I'm living my most meaningful life when I'm contributing to others. I discovered that when I contribute genuinely to the people around me, it creates a space where I can build powerful relationships. I was buying into them, and they were buying into me. And that enhanced our lives. It started to bring out the best in each of us. And this became the standard for the way that I wanted to live my life, because I sure as heck wasn't going back to where I was. So when the XFR finally graduated, when all these people graduated, I had to continue on to graduate school. And I kept developing all these things, all these reasons and all these styles of ways I was going to keep contributing to my community. And so I had this powerful why of contribution, and I needed a powerful how to continue it. And so my answer for how I was going to stay connected with my community was van life. I adapted this minimalist lifestyle because I believe that when you simplify your life, you can amplify your living. And I quite literally would not be here without this group. So at the beginning of this year, this past fall, I started to go around and I contributed to my community. And it requires me to move from house to house. And I cook and I clean. And I do things like babysit kids and take care of dogs. And I do this because I have a passion for being with people, and I want to bring a positive presence into their lives. This canvas was given to me by my partner so that as I was doing this project, I could collect the fingerprints of all the people that were willing to share this experience with me. And I wouldn't be here without them, because this lifestyle is not possible without my community. So I urge you to contribute to your communities, because the love and the support and the authenticity that you bring to the relationships in your life will be reflected back to you in the times that you need it most. And you can do this by steering into your fears and holding yourself and your community accountable and being willing to be vulnerable with the people that you care about and love. And if I can end with a final thought here, it's this, and that's to stay passionate. Because when we move boldly towards the things that excite us, that is what keeps us connected to our most meaningful life. Thank you.